You're watching The Breakfast Club.
Yep, it's the world's most dangerous morning show, The Breakfast Club. Charlamagne the God, Angela Yee. I don't know where the hell Envy is.
He's in L.A.
But
with his family.
We have right now the man of the hour, the king of Wakanda. T'Challa is here. Chadwick Boseman.
Yo,
What's happening, my brother?
everything is great. Everything is. I thought Envy was gonna be here because I saw he was Batman.
Yes.
And you were Panther.
I was Black Panther.
Oh, yeah.
Got the helmet right here, baby.
Yo.
Oh, my gosh.
$300 from Bangkok.
Yeah.
Do you have one of those as well?
I don't have one.
Okay.
I have an Iron Man one, actually.
What? No. Stay on brand, my brother. Why do you have Iron Man and not Black Panther?
I will have one for sure. I will have one for sure.
Pressure's on, man.
You think so?
Is
I mean,
it really?
it's
It
good
feels
pressure,
good,
though.
Yeah.
It's good pressure. And, I remember reading one time that you said you skipped the Civil War premiere because it felt too big. So if Civil War felt too big, how did you get used to this?
It was, you know what? It was. I had to work my way into it.
Mm-hmm.
I had to work my way into it. And when you go to those Marvel premieres, the ones in LA, they take up blocks and blocks and blocks. And I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna sit this out this time. I went to Age of Ultron. I saw what it was like. I went to Doctor Strange. And so I think it got me to the place where I was like, I'm ready for mine now.
Yeah.
So
And I'm sure Marvel would be disappointed if you didn't show up.
to my own.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You're like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah, ours was festive too. It was an amazing experience. We had, everybody was dressed to the nines in their African gear, and
We all have
drums,
Instagram. We saw
it. Was beautiful, man. It was beautiful.
You suffer from anxiety?
Anxiety about what?
Just in general, like just about life?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm having it's a good time.
Got you.
It's a good
It's
time
interesting
right now.
because it's not like you grew up saying, I want to be an actor, I want to do this. You were more of a director.
Yeah.
And that's how acting came about for you.
Yeah, writing, directing, it's one of those things where you don't see yourself in front. I was thinking about the whole story, more so than being a person in the light. And I had to come to the realization, because I had a teacher basically who taught that a director needs to be able to know how to talk to actors, how to ask questions when you're dealing with actors. And so as I started to ask those questions, I found myself wanting to answer them. Found myself wanting to go through that exploration. And so I found it in my own way.
That's probably really helpful in acting because you can kind of direct yourself in a way.
You always have to direct yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You always, even when you have a great director like Ryan Coogler, he's depending on the actors to come with ideas and to come to the table with their own. You have to chart your own way through. And when you run into another actor who's doing that, that's when the magic happens. Mm-hmm. A director who has that going on, he can then, his mind can go to all sorts of places because he has people that really know how to do their job.
4 years ago, we had you up here, and I asked you if you were playing Black Panther, and you had the worst poker face known to man. And now
I didn't know.
look.
I didn't know at that point in time. That I had no idea the events that led to this. I'll give what I do is I'll give you credit for being prophetic about it.
Okay.
All
right.
Yeah,
you heard it
you
here first.
predicted it.
Give me my credit. I like my credit.
You are Charlamagne the God, right? You Charlamagne the God, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Claim it. It's been a couple of people that predicted it. So I say you're one of them.
There you go.
How long did you have to keep it a secret when you found out?
It was like 2.5 months.
That's a long time to not be able to.
It was It was 2.5 months. Like my mama didn't know.
Wow.
Really?
Nobody knew.
Because your mom probably would have told everybody.
Yeah, like you know what?
Well, how the hell did I find out?
What do you mean? How did you find out?
I'm trying to think. How did I? Well, I didn't find out, but I kind of knew.
Yeah.
He wants to go back
you
to
him. You
him
Charlamagne
being
the
a
God, right?
I'm just trying to think. Where did I see that? I don't remember.
You know before other people know.
Yeah.
Before Chadwick knew.
Yeah, we knew before I knew.
Word.
That's amazing.
What made you want to commit to that character?
To Panther?
Yeah.
It was something that the funny thing is when you said it, it wasn't something that was outside of my scope. It was something that I had been thinking about for a few years, and I had a few incidents that they were they led me to back to the comic book. You know, it was a cross, a Chicana in Peru that has the condor, it has the puma, and a serpent on it, and so that the puma is a Black Panther. So you're there in Machu Picchu, which is sort of a lost city, and it reminded me of Wakanda. It reminded me of the idea of Wakanda. It's been various different trips that I took that made me think of Wakanda. So I had notes written about what a Black Panther movie would be like even before I was cast.
Wow.
So when you said it, it was like, you know what? That would be good if that happened one day. I think this is one of those really, really special moments, in history and art, where things just sort of come together in a way that you can't explain.
Yeah, I saw you say that Black Panther is a cultural moment. I think your exact quote was, "We're not remembering breaking the color barrier or how funk was created, but we are living this." Can you elaborate on that a little?
Yeah, this is, I hesitated to say this before we got here because we didn't know whether we had a good movie. We didn't know how people were going to respond to it. But just seeing how people have bought out theaters, before they've ever seen it. They haven't even seen what the movie is. You've seen it.
Saw it last night.
Yeah. They haven't even seen what the movie is. And in some ways, when you're seeing like the Black Panther Challenge, which Fred T. Joseph started, they're living up to some of the ideas of the movie when they do that. Mm-hmm. That's historic.
Yeah.
This is history being created. In those other movies I was doing, we were remembering the past. Mm-hmm. We were looking back at history. This is a very, very present moment that takes us into what could be a different future.
That was history recreated. And I do love all the roles you played. It seems like you've been really great at picking these really impactful movies to play in.
Some of it I picked, and some of it, was.
I liked it. Listen, I really liked the Thurgood Marshall movie because I honestly didn't know a lot about Thurgood Marshall until I saw that.
Right.
James Brown was great. Jackie Robinson, 42.
Yeah.
Why does Hollywood think all Black people look like Chadwick Boseman?
They don't
think we all look alike. They think we all look like you.
They don't. That's funny. I had so many biopics after 42 to come at me. So many scripts that, like, if I told you all the different ones, hundreds of people. And so it just so happens that those are the ones that resonated. Those were the ones that I refused and wouldn't go away. Thurgood Marshall's son, John Marshall, actually wrote me a letter that convinced me to play Thurgood Marshall because I didn't want to do it because I was like he's way too light skinned. I can't play him. like nowhere in the world I could do that.
What famous Black men have you turned down?
Not like that. Don't just take that.
Yeah, let me rephrase that. What roles of famous Black men have you turned down?
I don't want to say all of them. You know what I'm saying? Because
just give us one big one.
Well, let me just tell you why. I'm trying to think of one that I can't say. While I say why I won't say most of them, because you never know as an actor who's going to end up playing something that you turn down.
Right.
Got you.
And so you don't want to say, well, they gave it to me first. You know what I'm saying? You got my sloppy seconds. You never want to do that, because I think it always ends up with the person that's supposed to end up with. But one of them, I'm trying to think of something that had various different versions of. There's a Sam Cooke. Been these Sam Cooke movies, like, so one of them was one of those versions.
Got you.
So it's a few characters that
Any Lifetime movies?
No. Yes.
They asked you to do a Lifetime movie? That must have been early on.
Yes,
though.
well, people come with everything.
Come.
No. People come. They shoot their shot. You know what I'm saying? People come
Why
with
not,
everything.
right? It could happen.
Yeah, they come with everything.
What's your guilty pleasures? Like things that you watch that you're like, damn.
Oh man. I'm looking at my publicist and shit.
Like, what's must-see TV for you?
There's no must-see, but there are times when, it's so much going on that you need that mindless, sound that mindless, and I'm not. That's no disrespect to the shows.
So you turn VH1 on.
Yeah, I turn VH1 on. I turn Bravo on. Okay. You're like, what are you like? What is Mimi doing? What are they doing?
Oh
you know,
my gosh.
you have to, you have to have some. You look at Black Ink or something like that.
Yeah.
You have to have some of that sometimes. you
Right.
know?
Now, how much Black Panther content did you consume before taking on this role?
I probably read almost all of the before Ta-Nehisi Coates started his new run.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to read all of it.
Reggie Hudlin.
Yeah, Reggie Hudlin,
Jesse Holland.
Jack Kirby.
Yep.
McGregor, who created Killmonger. Everybody. Christopher Priest. You read all of them because, our movie is not based just upon one version.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little bit of each version. But that's what I love about our movie, just from a comic book standpoint. A comic book fan can look at this movie and go, they'll be very excited because they'll know this came from this particular run and this came from that particular run, and literally every run is in our movie.
Would you consider Black Panther a Black film?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no. I mean, it's a lot of Black people in it.
Yes.
And it's actually probably one of the, there's a conversation in this movie that is an in-house conversation. It's a conversation that can only happen if you are on one continent or the other. If you I shouldn't even say that. You have to be part of the diaspora. And so as an African American, there's a conversation that you're having with the continent as you watch this movie. The continent is having a conversation with you. There's a debate that has probably never happened in a movie on this stage ever.
I know exactly the scene you're talking about.
Yeah, it's never happened. And so in that conversation, people will be talking about that, I think, even after the movie is over. And so it's definitely a Black film because that conversation is happening without regard for white people.
Yeah.
White people are privy to it.
Let's call them colonizers.
Yeah. So, hey, don't give anything away. Okay. Don't give anything. No, that needs to be. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But it's happening, and everybody's able to enjoy it because it's so specific of a question. So it definitely is a Black film. But what I believe truly, and it's sort of a Tolstoy idea, is that the more specific you are in your artistry, the more universal it becomes.
Yeah.
So the more I go into a particular culture, which is what we tried to do because we didn't want to do like a generalized Africa. You needed to be able to pull from, the whole continent in order to create this fictitious African nation. And so they're very, very real concepts and rituals and ideas, and even in the design. If you see the skyscrapers in the movie, those are actual, architectural, images that you see in Africa. And so we wanted to pull from real things. I think when you do that, people recognize things as being real and they can identify with it more. So that's why you see people from all over the world. And we were in Korea and people were coming in wearing their own traditional garb, just to greet us. That's how they felt about the movie because they saw us doing the same thing.
Was there a particular part of Africa that you studied in order to get Wakandan culture? Because Wakanda is a fictional country.
So what Ryan did? Actually, let me start with what I did. I listened to dialects from all over the country, all over the continent, and I settled in South Africa, and I did that. For Civil War. He then went to South Africa and he studied basically an enclave in South Africa. And so that enclave is what our movie is based upon. When you see the border tribe, it's similar to the blankets that are worn in that enclave. And so that's one part of it. I think there are other parts that are very, Egyptian at times or comedic.
Same thing.
Yeah, same
difference.
But some people don't know.
Yeah.
So we pick from there are very specific places. There's part of the clothing that is Maasai at times. So because we have these different tribes, each one of those tribes pulls from a specific thing.
Got you.
Now, for someone who's not knowledgeable like myself about Marvel, Black Panther, is this a movie, when I go see it, I'll be able to know what's going on, what's happening without having the background?
Yeah, the exposition is clear.
Okay.
I think within the first 5 minutes, you have the background of what Wakanda is, and even how it relates to the last movie. It connects to Civil War. Mm-hmm. You met my character in Captain America: Civil War, so I think all the exposition is very clear. I don't
I'm
think
sure there's a lot
lost.
of people going to see this that might have never gone to see a Marvel movie before. You think?
Yeah, there will be some people. I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Because this makes people go back and say, okay, let me see what I missed before this.
Just don't treat it like a sports game. You be watching sports with somebody who don't watch sports, and they be like, "What's that? What is that? Did he just score a touchdown?"
No, you won't do that. You won't do that. You won't do that. Like I think the opening of the movie is very smart in the way that it keeps everything enclosed in this movie. Mm-hmm. You don't need to have prior information.
How many times have you seen the movie at this point?
I can't answer that.
Did it exceed your expectations?
Yeah, that's complicated. Yeah, it lives up to it. It's different. It's different for me because, as an actor, you always go in. How many takes you did of this scene, how many takes what they chose and what they didn't choose. So you're trying to deal with, the movie that you shot versus the movie that ends up on the screen the first few times you see it. So overall, I'm very, very happy with what we've done. Right. But then there's a part of me that is always going to be critical and always analyzing the process, and so that the next time you do it, you have a more of a way you want to tackle it. But that's just the strategy of doing anything. You're thinking of new ways you're gonna do what you do. Too.
Absolutely,
everybody is. But you can still be happy with the final project.
I want to thank you for confirming that there is a sequel too, because you said the next time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I didn't confirm that.
And I want to go back to what you talked about with a black film, because you said yes and no. What makes a film a black film?
Well, what makes a film a black film is it's like when somebody is authentic. Mm-hmm. I think that's part of what I'm talking about here. Like Ryan Coogler is very authentic.
Absolutely.
He makes films because he connects with them, and there is I think he found his stamp and put it on this film, and because that stamp is on the film and it's unapologetic, that to me is part of what makes this, he's very clear about his position, I think, in his journey in this film in trying to connect to Africa,
and Oakland.
And Oakland. Yeah.
He finds a way to put Oakland in everything.
Yeah.
Salute to Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hard to say what that answer is. You know what I'm saying? And I hesitate sometimes when people say it's black, and because they feel like that's a limitation. A lot of people feel that way. I don't feel like that's a limitation.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it could be a black film and also just be a good film. It could just be a film at the same time. This is just a film, and it's authentically black.
Yeah, because the little bit of negativity that I'm seeing from people is, but it's a black cast, but they're just using black people to make the white people at Disney all of this money.
Well,
they even got a petition.
Like who? Honestly, who cares?
Word.
At the end of the day, filmmaking is a commercial art. if you don't make art when you make movies, if you don't make money when you make movies, then you can't make movies.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So
and this kind of sets the precedent because it shows the value of having Black people play these lead roles.
Black director.
Yeah.
And
all of that, and now that's like, okay, we got to do more of this.
Let me say this too, because I think I'm assuming that the person you're talking about who said that was Black.
Yes,
yeah.
Of course.
You got to be careful of being racist against yourself, right? Because a lot of times people see the name on the outside of a building, and they make the assumption there's a bunch of white people sitting around the table, right? They haven't been in the building, so they don't know who's in there.
Yeah.
They don't know that one of the shot callers, that one of the head producers,
great point,
at Marvel is Black.
Great point.
They don't know Nate Moore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you don't know who's behind the walls, you can't make an assumption that that the person calling the shots is. They don't know that one of the head producers is a woman.
Yeah.
That it's Victoria. Like it's one of the things that, being racist against yourself and saying, oh, they, you don't know who they is.
Yeah.
You don't know. This is all about the people, it's not about the names on the studios. The way things get done, I think the way that I did my business in doing this, and the way that Ryan did his business, he'll tell you very clearly. He went in and he met Kevin Feige, Louis D'Esposito. He went in and met Nate Moore and saw who they were. And he made his decision to do this movie based upon who they were, not the name on the outside.
Got you.
And so you can't make assumptions about things because it just I'm done.
No, I get what you're saying. One last thing on that. What do you think of this petition that's going around that wants to they're trying to get Marvel to give 25% of proceeds from Black Panther to the Black community? This is a real thing.
I mean, it's not gonna happen. That's what I think about it. Sometimes when you make art, you've already given what you're supposed to get.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. It's they can't do that, and they have overhead that they have to cover.
Yeah.
Everybody has overhead. Even if you're not a business, you got overhead. Well, and so in order for them to continue to make movies, they have to make money off of it.
The way I explained it is Ryan is going to continue after this to be one. He's going to be one of the biggest directors, if not biggest director in Hollywood.
Right.
He's going to continue to empower Black people. You're going to continue to empower Black people.
Michael
Michael Jordan's going to continue to empower Black people. Lupita. So that's the win.
That's the win. That's the win. Like, you got to look at it as each person is an entity. Mm-hmm. Each person is like a company that, like, there's a whole group of people that work with you. Like, there's a different people that travel around with me on this tour than it is that work with me on production, and it's Black people that are in that group.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where people have to understand how business works, and I have the opportunity to help my family. I have the opportunity to buy. I didn't even do a GoFundMe for in South Carolina. I just bought it.
Right.
Yeah, like I didn't ask nobody else to do it. Like, I have the power to do that because I'm doing this film, so I get to give back. I don't have to ask Marvel to give back.
All right.
Now,
Chadwick is from South Carolina, Anderson, South Carolina. How much of that South Carolina upbringing makes up the man you are today?
All of it.
All right.
All of it. You honor your father and your mother that your days may be long. That's ultimately, what your parents taught you, or what you ended up learning later on that they tried to teach you. That's what gets you indoors and helps you to handle being inside those doors. Mm-hmm. Like, if you can't respect your parents, how you gonna respect your boss?
Yes, sir.
So it's all of me. It's all of me.
You was I think I read somewhere you was driving through South Carolina when The KKK was wilding over the Confederate flag?
Yeah.
You said that was misquoted.
Down in
No.
Columbia.
It was in Anderson, South Carolina. Yeah, I saw on a drive home. But it was in response to, it was in response to the Confederate flag being taken down. Yeah. So, you never know. You never know when people are doing stuff, because I'm sure they're ashamed of that at this point. And I'm sure they're ashamed, and I'm sure that they want to do better. I'm not gonna hold it against them right now. It's messed up. It's messed up that that's still happening.
Mm-hmm.
And it
I
was
don't
also
think the KKK wants to do better though.
I'm see the group does it. The group does it.
Got you.
But when I go home, I can see people changing.
Yeah.
I can see that what I'm doing is changing people.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? I can see that they have to look at me different, and then therefore they have to look at the people that they see every day different. And so I'm not saying that that the South isn't still the South,
mm-hmm.
but I pray for it all the time. I pray for my family that's there, and I obviously you probably have had experiences in South Carolina that charge negative ones that make you who you are. You know what I'm saying?
You know what's interesting? I always say that growing up in South Carolina, I know it sounds crazy, I never experienced overt racism.
Oh yeah, I did.
But I know I experienced it covertly. But we saw it all the time because you had the Strom-Thurmond highways and Strom-Thurmond buildings and the Confederate flag. But I never had nobody be like, "Yo, nigga, move."
Oh yeah, I had that.
Oh wow.
I had that. I definitely had that. And I had resentment for it probably for a period of time, but I think now I don't have that. I don't have that same resentment.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've gotten to a place where, I feel sorry for you if you think that way.
I totally agree.
And I've gotten to a place where, I'm not gonna say I wouldn't get mad if a cop unjustly stopped me because I was black.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I can pray for you,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like I can, I can look at where your heart needs to be changed.
And you can say your life sucks if that's
Your
how you
life
feel.
sucks if that's how you
Mhm.
feel. Yeah. So, I'm not here to like to cause division at this point in time. I'm here to be a light so that you can see that you're wrong.
Mm. So in real life, who would you have agreed with more, T'Challa or Killmonger?
Well, as an African American, I connect with Killmonger.
That's how I felt too.
Yeah,
I didn't like the way he treated people, but
yeah. As an African American, I have both sides because I have a huge family.
mm-hmm.
I have a lot of the traits of T'Challa, but Killmonger, there's as African Americans, we've been severed from our past. We've been severed from the continent in a way where we're reaching for a connection to it. So he has the demarcations on his body,
mm-hmm.
but he doesn't have like a real ritual connection to those demarcations. He made it into something else. And so I think we're all searching for things because we're looking for those rites of passages that have been left behind. At the same time, I feel like T'Challa has a tradition, and he has a connection to his ancestors that I long for.
Mm-hmm.
I long for that. And I feel like Killmonger longs. They're two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
But as an African American, you're always going to feel like until you make that connection that there's a disconnect there. What I did is I took a DNA test.
Me too.
Yeah. So where you from?
I'm 97% East African, West African.
No, see, that's the wrong test.
Which one you took? Like you got the
you took Ancestry.com.
Yeah.
I took African Ancestry.
What's the difference?
So African Ancestry could tell you the specific ethnic group that you come from. So not only, if you just know, the country, that's still the European borders to a certain degree.
Gotcha.
But if you know that you're Yoruba from Nigeria, then you can now you can pinpoint specific customs and rituals
Got you.
that are part of your past. If I know that I'm Jola from Guinea-Bissau, I'm naming all the stuff that I found in mine. That I'm Limba from Sierra Leone. That's a more specific. I could go talk to somebody.
Yeah.
There that specifically knows, this is your background.
I need to do that. They told me I was 97% West African, which made sense because if you go to Charleston, they're building a African American Arts Museum on this plot of land, and that plot of land was the dock that like 60-something% of all slaves in America came through.
Right.
Yeah. So that makes sense. And then they said if you look, I mean, it sounds crazy, like Sarah Palin looking at Russia from Alaska, but if you look straight, you can see from Charleston, it's a straight path to West Africa.
Right.
That's what they say.
Yeah. It was one of the direct stops along the way. So.
Now, what would it take for black people to build their own Wakanda?
I feel like Wakanda is an idea that is very real. I mean, in terms of, I think there should be a connection to technology and math when people see this movie. I think people are going to be inspired by Sharice's character, and I think people will be inspired by a connection to tradition in a way that hasn't happened. So it's I don't really know what's gonna happen. I don't really know what's gonna happen after people see this movie. But hopefully people will begin to look, like if they do that DNA test, in other words, and find where they're specifically from and make those connections, that's gonna be a path in and of itself.
Absolutely.
So you can each person can find their own Wakanda based upon the things that they do after this movie. But it's kind of up to you.
Did this movie change your life after you filmed it? Like take some pieces of things that you learned while you were doing it, or from acting that you're like, I'm a different person in some ways now?
Every movie does. There's a little bit of James Brown still left.
Yeah, you're a better dancer now.
I'm a better dancer now, but even more than that, probably a better business person now. A little bit of Jackie Robinson, a little bit of Thurgood Marshall. So it's always gonna be something from a movie that you take with you. But this is one that that's a character I'm still working on. So it remains to be seen what all the things will be.
It's kind of it for you, bro. Like, what do you do? What do you do after
Hey,
Black Panther?
Don't say it like that.
I mean, I don't mean it like that. But you got a 5.
Your career's done.
No, you got a 5-film deal, and this is a big character. Like this is like a iconic character that we haven't seen in our generation in a long time. Like, where do you go from here?
You got to do something smaller.
Independent film.
You have to do something smaller. You have to do something that is exactly an independent film, something that
you wrote, directed, and starred in.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily that, but I think you have to do something smaller. You have to do something that gets you back to, just the ground floor of what acting is.
What about theater?
Could be a play too. Yeah, I think you do something. I'm not saying that I won't do another blockbuster movie, but I think you definitely want to find those smaller movies that you can do to sort of balance out, the bigger ones.
Right.
Do you think that they will explore the relationship between Storm and T'Challa at some point in the future?
I don't know.
Especially with everybody merging now, Fox and Disney and all that other good stuff.
Let me tell you the reason. Like, there's a few reasons why I can't answer that. But Lupita is gonna kill me if we don't end up together in the movie. So she literally told me she was like, if they try to bring Storm in this, she was like I'm gonna turn into a villain.
Wow.
So yeah.
Black Panther and Storm were married in the comics.
I know. Yeah, I have no way of knowing what they're gonna do.
Yeah, right. Sound just like you sounded in 2014. What do you want people to take from Black Panther, man?
I hope people are proud when they finish watching the movie. That's what I want.
Or, that's how I felt.
Yeah, just if people walk out of that movie and they're proud, everything else will take care of itself. And I think it's you're gonna get what you bring Like, this is one of those movies where you get what you bring, but at the same time, I think there's a certain amount of pride you should have from just the exploration within this, the questions that are asked and the debate, you know, and even just the way we're depicted. But I think it's really the debate that actually happens. I hope people feel proud that happened on this stage.
Yeah, I think it adds to the conversation of black pride. You know what I mean? Because, you know, I called my book Black Privilege because I said it's a privilege to be black. And
Which
I
love, by the way, yeah.
Thank you. And I feel like Black Panther is adding to that. Like, yo, this is how dope we could be.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And even how dope we are. It's how dope we are. It's fantasy, but it's actually not. You know, it's who we are. It's who we always have been. There have been African empires, and so African civilization, and so it's not a thing that we're just making up. It's just an amalgamation put inside this fictitious world.
And great for kids to see those representations of themselves on the big screen.
Yes, indeed. Well, Chadwick has to go because, you know,
he's
he is
busy
promoting a movie that's about to make well over $1 billion. And then he's going to have to change his number. You know what I mean?
No, man.
And nobody in Anderson will be able to reach him but his mama. Okay? It's Chadwick Boseman, y'all. Y'all go see Black Panther this weekend. It's The Breakfast Club.